Hello again, Tom here, and welcome to another regular coin review. I'm really enjoying the research for these videos, and I turn up far more information than I can present, but I try to give you some interesting facts that you wouldn't normally read about in the normal literature about each coin type. Today's regular coin is no exception. It's an 1899 silver dollar. The strange thing about it is that although it's in really poor condition, I sent it to a professional grading service to have it formally graded by experts and encapsulated in a holder that'll hopefully preserve this coin's awful condition for many years to come. What in the world was I thinking? For most collectors, the goal is to buy coins in the highest grade available, or the highest affordable grades. However, there is actually an active market for coins in the very lowest grades, also known as lowballs. They possess a special allure for a certain stripe of collector. Some people collect them because of a lowball coin's authentic ties to history. This one gets me thinking an age-old question. What has this 125-year-old coin been through? In fact, some coin types are worth more with extreme levels of wear versus an average amount of circulation. Why? Well, stick around and let's explore the world of silver dollars and lowballers. Alright, I need to get something off my chest right away. I started this channel partially because I love history, but also because I took a class in college called Cultural Geography. The professor explained that history is the study of particular people, but geography is the study of the common man. I'm always a big fan of the stories that historical objects tell us. Lots of coin videos that do really well on YouTube are about finding rare coins in pocket change, and I get it. But a common coin used by a particular cultural region can tell us compelling stories about ourselves and our ancestors. So that's the purpose for this channel. I bought silver dollars as bullion purchases in the 2008 housing collapse, including damaged, clean, and a few slick dollars like this one. Any silver dollar in a grade of G4 or higher will carry a premium as a collectible, but problem coins like this carry a much lower premium over the spot bullion price. A few years ago, I pulled those problem coins out again to sell them. Oddly, I liked this one, and because I couldn't make it any worse through handling, during the 2020 pandemic, I started to carry it around daily in my pocket. This is where the term pocket piece comes from. Pocket pieces are coins that are literally carried around in one's pocket or held loosely within one's purse for many years on end. This is often the case with coins of sentimental value, perhaps one serving as a good luck charm, or featuring the bearer's birth year. For me, holding on to it calmed me at the ophthalmologist before getting my eye injections. My body heat would conduct into the silver and make the dollar warm. And because I come from the old Pueblo, Tucson, Arizona, I visited Tombstone many times growing up, so this Morgan dollar made me feel a tiny bit dangerous. Like Morgan Earp. Or maybe like Two-Face with his exposed eyeball and fatalistic coin toss. I carried it every day for nearly 2 years, but it had quite a long history before I got my grubby paws on it. So what are Morgan silver dollars? Morgan silver dollars have been referred to as the classic American coin of all time. This coin, more than any other, brings back the romance and allure of the Wild West. Because of its hefty size and solid silver content, the Morgan silver dollar was a favorite coin of settlers, outlaws, and prospectors alike. Back east, the new paper dollar bills were gaining popularity, but paper money never really caught on in the West, probably because of the temperament of the kind of people who settled there. They preferred to deal in gold and silver. Thanks to the gunfights, gold, gambling, and glory, the Old West holds a special place in the hearts of all Americans. These were among the coins that Jesse James and his gang stole in their holdups. These were the silver dollars that Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp used to bet each other at Big Nose Kate's saloon in Tombstone. And these are the coins that Annie Oakley used to demonstrate her sharpshooting skill in Buffalo Bill's Wild West shows. Every Morgan dollar is truly an inspirational coin of historical significance. There have been several different names for this coin over the years. Unfortunately, the Morgan dollar was not named after Morgan Earp, but only a few coins have so many nicknames. In response to the sour economic condition that persisted through much of the 1870s, and as a special interest pork spending bill, Congress passed the Bland Allison Act in 1878, even despite President Hayes vetoing it. The act required the U.S. government to purchase large quantities of silver and turn them into silver dollars. The massive production required by the act created artificial federal demand for the metal, and the dollar denomination was restored once again with this new design. That leads us to its first nickname, the Bland dollar, after Missouri Congressman Richard P. Bland, whose co-legislation with William B. Allison of Iowa brought this coin into existence. Colloquially, in the U.S. during the 1800s, many coin collectors and non-collectors alike called our thick, heavy silver dollars cartwheels. Cartwheel was originally the nickname of the wide-rimmed twopence issued by Great Britain in 1797. As you can see, the wheels for ox-drawn carts were thicker and heavier than the wheels for wagons designed to be drawn by horses. Just as our large cent earned the slang term of penny, the similar huge size and weight earned this silver dollar the nickname cartwheel. Out of this term evolved a desirable phenomenon, the cartwheel effect. When you hold an uncirculated example under a strong light and tilt it up and down, microscopic flow lines that radiate from the center out during the coin striking process refract the light off the surface of the coin. This cartwheel effect is a special type of mint luster that can be seen on nearly any uncirculated coin, but is most noticeable on large coins like this. To examine the coin further, let's read together from the book How Money is Coined, A Visit to the United States Mint, New Orleans. This is pages 21 to 23. While we stand in fascinated admiration contemplating this magic moneymaker and hear the merry clink of the coins as they drop at an average rate of 85 per minute into the box beneath the press, the conductor has brought for our inspection samples of the bright new dollars. They are indeed beauties. Each one is a work of art. Let us examine it closely. How perfect and realistic are the lines of the face and head. A common older numismatic name for this coin is the Liberty-Head dollar, since this was the first depiction of just Liberty's head, without the bust included, on the silver $1 coin. With the wreath and crown of liberty, of which we are all so proud. That's an ancient symbol of freedom, Lady Liberty wearing a Phrygian cap and the inscription of liberty on her diadem. The original cap of liberty was a Roman pileus, the felt cap of emancipated slaves of ancient Rome, which was an attribute of Libertas, the Roman goddess of liberty. They came to signify freedom and the pursuit of liberty first in the American Revolution and then in the French Revolution. Now her wreath features cotton bolls, tobacco leaves, and sheaves of wheat, so they're tying in American agriculture together with a nod to the ongoing post-Civil War reunification. Above is the secret of our liberty, e pluribus unum, and below are the stars representing our 13 original states. You'll notice that these are 6-pointed stars, not 5. A constellation of 13 6-pointed stars was adopted by Congress into our Great Seal in 1780. In the early days of the Republic, a star depicted to represent a heavenly body generally had 6 or more points. One with 5 points was more correctly called a mullet and represented a stylized rowel of a spur. This distinction traces back through English heraldry. If you look carefully on the lower edge of the neck, you can see a little M, which is the mark of the engraver of the dies, whose name is Morgan. This coin's popular name comes from its designer, George T. Morgan. As the newly hired assistant engraver, Morgan was the winner of a design competition with his supervisor, the venerable U.S. Chief Engraver William Barber, aka Snagglebeard. To model Liberty's portrait, Morgan used an 18-year-old Philadelphia schoolteacher named Anna Willis Williams. As an art student, she was acquainted with the painter Thomas Eakins, through whom she was introduced to Mr. Morgan. She reluctantly sat for him on 5 occasions in November 1876 at Eakins's house, on the condition that her identity would be kept secret, which it was for over a year, but in 1879 a newspaper in Philadelphia leaked that Anna was the, quote, silver dollar girl. Poor Ms. Williams, as her engagement was called off because of the leak, was flooded with job offers, visitors, and letters by the thousands. Let us reverse the coin. There is represented the American eagle, guardian spirit of our national liberty and honor. Another name for this coin, given by its detractors for its gaunt, long-necked raptor, was the Buzzard dollar. I can see it, I guess. The eagle was a Roman symbol of imperial power and therefore represented courage, strength, and immortality. Most famously, the eagle, or aquila, was featured on the standard of the Roman legions. The standard bearer, the aquilifer, would carry the eagle standard into battle. This was a prestigious position within the Roman army. Note his position. With eye alert and wings extended, every feather bristling with pride, he holds in his talons the emblems of peace and war. Ah, This long-necked eagle reminds me of the scrawny, wily Prussian eagle with a forked tongue. In this Army Air Service poster from the Great War, you can see the distinct differences. Morgan was headhunted from England for the engraver job, and our eagle bears more than a passing resemblance to a phoenix carved in the pediment of St. Paul's Cathedral in London. I think the Buzzard is just a byproduct of his European artistic sensibility. The olive branch is held in advance of the arrows, indicating that we prefer to maintain our national liberty and peace, but if necessary, we will defend it with the strong arm of war. The 5th century Christian symbol of the olive branch originates from the biblical story of Noah and the flood in Genesis 8:11, when Noah's dove, quote, announced to the world the assuagement of divine wrath when she had been sent out of the ark and returned with an olive branch. Now the archer is said to wield a weapon destined for avengement. In English heraldry, arrows symbolize martial readiness for defense, in contrast to the symbol of a conquering sword. Above the eagle's head, in God we trust, a national tribute of our faith in him, quote, who doeth all things well, unquote. The author here is making a reference to a contemporary gospel praise hymn written in 1879 by Elisha A. Hoffman, titled He Doeth All Things Well. The hymn takes its inspiration from Mark 7:37, where the people praise Jesus not only for healing a deaf and mute man, but for doing it well. Just below the center of the ornamental wreath is a little O, which is the mark of the New Orleans Mint. This is a laurel wreath tied with a ribbon. The symbol goes back to Greek and Roman mythology. In the Metamorphoses by the Roman poet Ovid, Apollo fell in love with the river nymph Daphne, who rejected every lover, including the poetic god. When Apollo pursued her, Daphne prayed to be rescued, so her father transformed her into a laurel tree. Now successfully spurned, Apollo embraced and honored the tree. He said that he will wear her leaves in his hair, he will use her wood to make his bow and lyre, and that a crown made of her branches will adorn the heads of royalty and champions of games and in battle. Therefore, the laurel wreath was an ancient Roman symbol of military victory, not too different from the eagle. As we return the coin to our friend, we feel that we have seen the dollar in a new and stronger light, and aside from the commercial use of its purchasing power, we shall ever regard it as the source of patriotic inspiration and one of the fit emblems of a free people. It's pretty cool. I like this little book. I picked it up at the New Orleans Mint, which is now a museum. So now let's talk lowball. In 2007, David Hall, president of Collectors Universe and PCGS founder, approached BJ Searles with an idea. I want to put a category in the PCGS set registry that allows collectors to compete with their lowest graded coins. We'll call it lowball. Searles thought he was crazy, but now there are over 1,100 sets registered by some of our most enthusiastic collectors. One passionate collector, Mike Walker, joined the ranks of lowball aficionados when he registered his first set around 2016. He now has 8 number 1 ranked sets in the category. His Morgan Dollar date set, appropriately named Low Hanging Fruit, is a perfect 1.00. Lowball collecting is not as easy as you might have heard. Most people think that these coins are just lying around in junk buckets at nearly every local coin shop. The truth is that most dealers do not have a clue what it takes to build a lowball set, Walker told Searles in a 2018 interview. When studying a Morgan dollar that has been graded Poor 01, you immediately notice that the date is barely visible, and there's little or no detail on Liberty and the Eagle. It amazes me how the graders at PCGS can determine what the date is, let alone the mint mark. It's a testament to their expertise. While lowball coins are expected to be heavily worn, damage or cleaning is still frowned upon. Gouges, heavy marks, unattractive discoloration, or any other signs of mishandling are still considered detrimental. The most valuable lowballs show extensive honest wear but no other flaws. I must say it's an exciting way to enter the market, and it provides a touch of dignity to lower grade coins that are sometimes maligned and ignored. If you've ever had a pocket piece, a coin which you keep in your pocket over time, you can see how a coin wears down and how long it takes for a coin to wear out. It makes these lowball coins even more impressive. Given how much certain heavily circulated coins are worth, you're probably wondering if you can create a lowball by artificially wearing it down. But this is actually quite difficult because it takes years and years of constant circulation to show the right kind of wear. To bring a silver coin from very fine 20 down to good 4, it takes years of everyday handling by thousands of people per year. So a legit lowball coin cannot be fast-tracked by just one person. Initially, low-grade coins, although not easy to find circulated, were reasonably priced. As the lowball registry matured, so did pricing for some of these extreme low-grade examples. And as populations increased, the rarities began to surface. It is interesting to note that while a coin might be extremely easy to find in high grades, it may be very difficult to find in lower grades. The market for lowball coinage isn't really unique. The price of collectibles always comes down to a function of supply versus demand. Quote, when you get right down to it, some of these really tough .401 coins are much rarer than their high-grade counterparts, unquote. And finding a problem-free coin in that low of a grade is hard. So how would dollars get worn in 1899 San Francisco? If this dollar wasn't a pocket piece for most of its life, then it could have been worn slick probably in one of three ways. It circulated in town, or it was heavily used in the Barbary Coast casinos, or it was sent to Reno sometime between 1942 and the mid-50s. This is according to mint records for the 1899S. Ben, the coin geek of Old Pueblo Coin in Tucson, Arizona, recently uploaded a video where he opened a 1914 collection of coins in 100-plus-year-old packaging. Most of the holders have purchase dates of 1914, and they've got the really cool old quill ink pen handwriting, and they have the coin's description on it. Just look how much wear is on them and how different that is from what we see today with our current coins and our currency. For instance, here's a coin that was only a decade old when it was removed from circulation, and it's almost completely worn out. Also a 10-year-old silver dollar. In my mind I'm thinking this coin should be well preserved, but it's just a nice middle grade, very fine. But thinking about how quickly these coins wore down, especially with Morgan dollars, there are so many high-grade Morgan dollars available, the fact never occurred to me that when they circulated they wore out pretty quick. Today we're used to regularly seeing coins from 1965, almost 60-year-old coins, made of nickel and bronze, which are much harder metals than silver or gold, which, for being in constant circulation, are still in really good shape. And you don't think about just how infrequently we actually use coins today to make purchases. My takeaway? Coins really were used in commerce in a way that I really can't comprehend today. With all its history and folklore behind the pretty face, the Morgan dollar remains the queen of American coins. Her large size, pleasing appearance, and abundant supply of uncirculated examples make her both affordable and desirable. They are the most widely collected of all coins of their era. But the 1899S Morgan is not as common in lower grades. So when you go to the PCGS pricing website section, you can see that while fair is 38 bucks, poor is 250. Well, now it's 200. So I gave my worn out Morgan here her first taste of gambling she's seen in at least 60 years. I sent it in to PCGS to be graded. Well, I got my Cartwheel back, and she was problem-free, but she graded it fair 02, not poor 01. I placed my silver on the 00 and lost. In the end, I don't know, this slab, I miss the feeling of the smooth silver coin warm up as I hold it. But through this journey I learned a lot, and slabbing it made for an interesting story to share with you, my viewers. I do have a love of poor condition coins, since they're all I could afford as a new teenage collector. Are lowballs a fad that will fade, or is it a recognition and appreciation for the history of money? When you're a coin collector, the allure of where that coin came from, who's passed that coin in their hands, is irresistible. I mean, we're never gonna know. It's just a fantasy of wondering. You have an old silver dollar like this. A lot of people don't realize that Wyatt Earp died in 1929, and he sat at a lot of saloons, and he had a lot of silver dollars go through his hands. Which one of them was spent by Doc Holliday? Which one was in the pocket of Mark Twain? It's just the nostalgia. Where and how these coins have served people is pure history, and I appreciate that history. Kind of makes a Mint State Morgan seem, well, uninspired. Thanks for joining me today for this regular coin review on the history of money. Until next time, in God we trust.